distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, friends and enemies.
There is an increase of armed robberies in some parts of New York City as Obama, in his State of the Union address back in January, makes the wild claim that, quote, "For the past 7 years, our goal has been a growing economy that works better for everybody," unquote. Obama, had he not been like any other president and be truthful, should have told us who the economy has only been working for. Certainly not those who lost jobs and homes in 2007 and have had to take lower wage jobs if they've been able to find new income to begin with. Around May of every year, the Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes a report on occupational employment statistics that gives us a profile of the kinds of jobs that make up the population of people employed by firms, government, and nonprofits in the U.S. economy. The statistics appear 1 year later than the data are collected, so the most current available information is from May of 2014. The majority of largest occupations are relatively low-wage positions where the annual mean wages for the rest of the 10 largest occupations range from a little over $19,000 for combined food preparation and serving workers to $34,500 for secretaries and administrative assistants. Comparing the latest data from May 2014, if you want to make a 5-year comparison, say May of 2009, the month before the Great Recession was supposed to have ended. The greatest absolute number of jobs created during those 5 years, about 1 million in all, was made up of food services and service industry positions, where the median annual salary in 2014 was just over $19,000. With sweeping wage reductions for auto workers, one of the last major layers of America's industries imposed by Obama's auto task force, and austerity, school closures, pension cuts, and attacks on health benefits for millions of working people under Obamacare, we are still left with a bleak picture across the country and really the world for people who are poor or must work for a living. So, to speak directly to the scores of followers and zombies of the ruling class, when they bring up recycled talking points and do their moral grandstanding targeting poor people, come back at them with the findings of a study that's been talked about for the past 3 years by authors Anandi Mani, Sendhu Mullainathan, Eldar Shafir, Jiaying Zhao, who all authored a research article titled "Poverty Impedes Cognitive Function." The link to the PDF is in the low bar. Now I'm going to quote from the opening of the article. A variety of the studies point to a correlation between poverty and counterproductive behavior. The poor use less preventative health care, fail to adhere to drug regimens, are tardier and less likely to keep appointments, are less productive workers, less attentive parents, and worse managers of their finances. These behaviors are troubling in their own right, but they are particularly troubling because they can further deepen poverty. Some explanations of this correlation focus on the environmental conditions of poverty. Predatory lenders in poor areas, for example, may create high interest rate borrowing, and unreliable transportation can cause tardiness and absenteeism. More generally, poverty may leave less room for error so that the quote-unquote same mistake can lead to a worse outcome. Other explanations focus on the characteristics of the poor themselves. Lower levels of formal education, for example, may create misunderstandings about contract terms, and less parental attention may influence the next generation's parenting style. End quote. So does all this sound familiar? Growing up poor myself, it does to me. I have seen some of these mistakes made by not only my neighbors and people closest to me, but even my mother, especially the money spent when the holidays came and there were bills still due. The priorities were out of whack, but then again, capitalism is more than an economic system. It gives over a culture that one must feel good about being able to spend money that one doesn't really have. If they can't spend it, panic sets in. The article goes on to underline scarcity and its impact on people's thinking as it taxes on their mental bandwidth whenever they think about financial problems. Mullainathan and Shafir explore this work further in a book titled Scarcity: Why Having Too Little Means So Much. The article from CityLab, also in the low bar, gives us some insight to this as well. Now, this seemingly unrelated data paints the harsh and realistic landscape of the people often judged as immoral or making bad choices. It's coupled with families who are faced with these hardships with only one parent. It's pretty clear that these empty-headed and baseless calls for accountability and respectability will not nor cannot turn back the tide of social economic policy put into place against the working poor. It offers up excuses for the ruling class and is supposed to direct clueless followers of ruling class politicians as a recruiting tactic to keep them in office. At the end of the day, know that all those you come across, whether it's the Meatverse, social networks, or social media, that they are either dupes of the ruling class, pointing at the specters and straw men of accountability and respectability as answers that actually run counter to real issues, or they are social injustice agents, apologizing for their masters, who are the true creators of today's crisis. We need to see that revolution and overthrow of the current system is the only solution. Those who stand in the way should be in the crosshairs as well. This is the Garage Autonomist.